Yes, I think any sexist violence of any nature should be always challenged. Um, However, this call to make misogyny a hate crime, I don't think is the way to address the endemic sexism that we have in our society. I think laws, they don't change the culture. I mean, we've had the Equal Pay Act for decades. Rape is illegal, domestic violence is illegal, but it hasn't changed. And what we have seen amongst young people is an increase of sexual violence. It's an epidemic. And bringing in a law to make public harassment illegal is not going to change women's lives, in my opinion. And indeed, within our sector, we are sceptical about this looking like a shiny new thing to make things better for women, which probably won't. And let's not forget that the implementation and enforcement of laws relies upon the police. And from work that we've done, particularly in London, women have no trust and confidence in the police, and I'm sure I don't need to remind you why that is. So we'd like to see the current laws and protection for women actually implemented to their fullest extent, rather than bringing in another law which we don't think is going to do the trick.
So, we're essentially getting right to the very core of this. I mean, it ultimately won't change unless you kind of nullify the root cause of it, I suppose. And that, I think, is education, to badly quote a former leader that I despise. Is that where we need to be? Should it be? How about instead of a new misogyny law, we have a designated lesson on misogyny in primary schools or something like that?
Well, I think, again, if you silo things about human rights and equality into one lesson, you're again not going to achieve what we need to, which is a whole societal shift away from sexism, racism, and other discriminatory systemic issues. And so what I would like to see is that the education system takes a human rights based approach to teaching children. So that's across all lessons, and that teacher training also addresses some of these things. And because it is very deep rooted, it's been going on for centuries. And what we need is some leadership from the very top to say, we are not going to tolerate this anymore. That's what we need.
Yes, and it does seem like politicians have been saying that for a while, and it doesn't seem like the problem is getting much better. What would you like to see policy-wise? Because we've had very odd suggestions for what can be done to make women feel safer, like putting plainclothes policemen in outside nightclubs and things like that. Yeah. You know, getting women to call in, hail down a bus. Yeah. It's a mishmash of really bizarre policies at the moment that are being suggested. What do you think could make a difference?
Well, I think the first thing that policy and decision makers need to do is listen to the experts. There's women working in the ending violence against women sector. We've been going for decades. We have all the evidence and we have the solutions, but unfortunately we're not listened to. If we were listened to, we would not see ridiculous things said on the TV by the Met Police or the government about flagging a bus down. And when we've seen the levels of misogyny and sexual violence from within the police force, then why would putting more police out there make women feel any safer? We need to take the advice from the experts and do what we're asking them to do. We have the solutions.